Naam. Mheshimiwa Othman Masoud Othman Sharif, makamu wa kwanza wa rais wa serikali ya mapinduzi Zanzibar, viongozi wa vyama mbalimbali, mabalozi, wawakilishi wa mashirika mbalimbali ya kimataifa, viongozi wa dini na wageni waalikwa, napenda kuchukua fursa hii kuwakaribisha tena kwenye maadhimisho ya urathi wa Maalim Seif Sharif Hamad, kama tulivyofanya mwaka jana tulivyozindua foundation ya Maalim Seif. Na tumerudia tena mwaka huu kuendelea kuenzi mchango wake. Kabla sijaendelea na taratibu zingine, kwa ridhaa yako Mheshimiwa mgeni rasmi, niruhusu nitambue baadhi ya wageni tuliokuwa nao siku ya leo, wakiongozwa na mama yetu Awena Sinan Masoud. Karibu sana mama. Mjane wa almarhum Maalim Seif Sharif Hamad. Ukiacha yeye kama mwakilishi wa familia, tunao wageni mbalimbali waliojiunga nasi kutoka pande mbalimbali za dunia kwa ajili ya kumenzi almarhum Seif Sharif Hamad, wakiongozwa na ndugu yetu balozi mstaafu wa Norway Joran Maalum. Karibu sana na pole na safari, kwa safari ndefu kutoka Oslo mpaka hapa. Vile vile tuna wageni ndugu yetu Ahmed Rajab kutoka London, ambaye naye ni maarufu kwenu wetu, nadhani wote tunamfahamu, na amekuja kujiunga na sisi katika kumwenzi. Tunaye ndugu yetu Patricia Nyaundi kutoka Kenya, ambaye naye ni mmoja wa wale wanaotuunga mkono katika foundation yetu. Karibu sana. Tunaye ndugu yetu David Coltart, waziri mstaafu wa elimu Zanzibar. David Coltart, former Minister of Education Zimbabwe, samahani. Unafahamu tunafanana sana, kwa hiyo ukifika pale Harare ukakunja kidogo unajikuta upo Kiembe Samaki. Tunao wageni wengine mashuhuri ambao tumewalika kwa ajili ya shughuli yetu, lakini simsahau mama yetu Fortuna Mbamba, ambaye amejiunga nasi leo kama alivyofanya mwaka jana. Karibu sana mama. Wageni wengine wengi wameelezewa pamoja na sehemu nyingine kwenye ratiba ambazo wengi mnazo, ni watambue tu kwa haraka. Nisimsahau mzee wangu na mwalimu wangu Profesa Isa Shivji, profesa mstaafu wa sheria. Sijui kama anaweza kustaafu, lakini ni profesa mstaafu. Tunao vile vile ndugu zetu Inge Herbert, mkurugenzi wa shirika la Frederick Norman Foundation kwa ukanda wa Sub-Saharan Africa. Tunaye ndugu yetu Stefan Short kutoka Frederick Norman Foundation East Africa, na ndugu yetu Veni Swai kutoka hiyo foundation, Frederick Norman Foundation. Tunao vile vile ndugu zetu viongozi wa vyama vya siasa. Mpo wengi, mniruhusu niwatambue wote kwa pamoja badala ya kuanza kumtaja mmoja mmoja. Niwatambue viongozi wa dini mlioungana nasi kama mlivyofanya mwaka jana, tunashukuru kwa uwepo wenu. Lakini niwatambue vile vile marafiki zetu na marafiki wa Maalim Seif Foundation wanaowakilisha nchi zao hapa Tanzania. We are joined by some foreign dignitaries as well, led by the German ambassador Regine Hayes. Thank you very much for your presence. Tunaye vile vile balozi Elizabeth Schwab Hansen kutoka Norway. Karibu sana. Na tunaye balozi Didier Chassot kutoka Switzerland. Na niwatambue wageni wengine wote, mniwe radhi kwa wale ambao sikuweza kuwakumbuka haraka na kuorodhesha. Tumechelewa kidogo kuanza ratiba yetu, niwaombe radhi kwa sababu hiyo, lakini niwaahidi kwamba tutajaribu kufidia tunavyokwenda ili kuhakikisha kwamba hatuchelewi kumaliza. Bila kupoteza wakati, Mheshimiwa mgeni rasmi, kwa hisani yako naomba kumkaribisha hapa mbele ndugu Ismail Jusa Ladhu, kaimu mtendaji mkuu wa Maalim Seif Foundation, kwa ajili ya neno la makaribisho na baada ya hapo tutakaribisha salamu mbalimbali kutoka kwa baadhi ya wageni waliokuwepo hapa mbele. Karibu sana ndugu Ismail Jussa.
Assalamu alaikum. Mheshimiwa makamu wa kwanza wa rais wa Zanzibar, Mheshimiwa Othman Masoud Othman, ambaye ndiye mgeni rasmi katika shughuli yetu hii ya leo. Rafiki yetu Ingi Habat, mkurugenzi wa Afrika wa shirika la Frederick Norman Foundation for Freedom. Waheshimiwa viongozi mbalimbali, waheshimiwa mabalozi, wageni wetu waalikwa, mabibi na mabwana. Inanipa faraja kubwa sana kwa mara ya pili kwa maana ya tukio hili kusimama mbele yenu kuwakaribisha katika tukio hili. Mtakumbuka kwa ambao mlikuwa kwa mwaka jana hapa, tulisema kwamba katika matukio ambayo taasisi hii imekusudia kuyafanya ni kuwa na mkutano wa kila mwaka ambao utakuwa unaadhimisha maisha ya mzee wetu marehemu Maalim Seif Sharif Hamad, Mwenyezi Mungu amlaze pema. Na tulisema kwamba kulingana na malengo ambayo taasisi tumejiwekea, tutakuwa tukichagua maudhui fulani kwa kila mwaka. Mwaka jana tulizungumzia maridhiano na umoja wa kitaifa. Mwaka huu tumeamua kuchagua maudhui ya elimu, na nadhani nyote mtakuwa mashahidi kwamba hakuna kitu kinachostahiki baada ya maridhiano na umoja wa kitaifa kwa maalim zaidi ya hilo ambalo linanasibika na walimu wake ambalo ni elimu. Kwa hivyo tunawakaribisha sana na tunawashukuru nyote kwa heshima kubwa sana ambayo mmetupa kuitikia wito wetu na mkaja mkajumuika hapa. Heshima maalum ni wape rafiki zetu ambao wamesafiri kutoka mbali na wakapokea maombi yetu haya na mwaliko wetu. Nimtambue Mama Yoran Molom, who traveled all the way from Norway to come and join us. Thank you so much, Ambassador Yoran. Lakini vile vile nimtambue kaka yetu mzee wetu Sheikh Ahmed Rajab, ambaye naye amesafiri kutoka London kwa ajili hii tu. Vile vile nataka nimshukuru rafiki yetu mwingine Senator David Coulthard, ambaye ametokea Zimbabwe, waziri wa zamani wa elimu. Huyu alikuwa Afrika Kusini kwa shughuli inayofanana na hii, na ikabidi kusafiri jana kutoka alfajiri, amefika usiku sana hapa, lakini amesema amekuja kuitikia wito wetu. Kwa hivyo tunamshukuru sana sana. Lakini vile vile tumshukuru dada yetu Patricia Nyaundi kutoka Kenya, na vile vile wasomi wetu hapa tuwasahau, pamoja na kwamba wao hawajatoka mbali, lakini kwa shule zilizowatinga kuacha shughuli zao, mzee wetu Profesa Sashivji, kina Profesa Kitila Mkumbo, pamoja na shughuli nyingi sana ambazo wanazo. Mwalimu wetu Richard Mabala anategemea ataungana sisi kesho hapa, na wote wengine. Kwa hivyo tunawashukuru sana sana. Hiyo haina maana kwamba wale ambao tunatoka hapa Zanzibar kwa sikuwataja kwamba hatutambui, lakini sisi wenyeji tumepokea wageni. Kwa hivyo sisi tujifaharishe kwamba tumefanya shughuli hii. Kwa hivyo nawashukuru sana, na sitataka kusema mengi nje ya shukrani. Mawili tu. La kwanza, tumejikita zaidi kwa sasa hivi kufanya mikutano. Haina maana kwamba foundation hii itashughulika na mikutano kama hii tu, katika kutekeleza dhima ambazo zimo ndani ya nyaraka za usajili, lakini tuliamua kwenda katika hali ya kuwa na mpango. Kwa hivyo tuna fahari na furaha kuwajulisha kwamba tulipata msaada wa ndugu zetu wa Frederick Norman Foundation kupata mtu wa mikakati ili kutusaidia kutengeneza mkakati wa miaka 5 wa foundation hii, na tunategemea ndani ya wiki 2 zijazo itakuwa imewasilishwa, na ikipitishwa na waasisi na baadhi ya watu ambao tutawalika, itakuwa huo ndio dira na muongozo wetu kwa miaka 5 ijayo. Tutapata kufanya shughuli nyingi zaidi. Kwa hivyo nimesema hilo kama ni washirika wetu mlijue. Lakini la pili ambalo kiwacha hilo nataka kulizungumza ni salamu. Mnakumbuka mwaka jana tulikuwa naye hapa kama mgeni rasmi alikuja kutuzundulia Rais wa Jamhuri ya Muungano Mheshimiwa Samia Suluhu Hassan. Mara hii kutokana na shughuli zonazo hakuweza kuwa pamoja na sisi, lakini aliwasiliana na mimi juzi na akataka niseme hapa kwamba yuko pamoja na sisi na anautakia kheri mkutano huu kama alivyokuwa mwaka jana. Ametoa baraka zake zote, na kuthibitisha hilo, mnakumbuka mwaka jana alituambia hapa katika jukwaa hili kwamba taasisi hii tusijidai kwamba ni yetu sisi inawezekana tumeasisi, akasema hii ni ya wote ambao wanamtambua na kumthamini na kumheshimu Maalim Seif. Kwa hivyo akasema pakiwa na lolote rudi kwetu, na fahari kukwambieni na vile vile wingi wa shukrani kwamba katika waliochangia gharama za kufanikisha jambo hili, ukiondoa taasisi ya Frederick Norman Foundation, ni yeye Rais Samia Suluhu Hassan wa Jamhuri ya Muungano. Kwa hivyo tunamshukuru sana kupitia jukwaa hili na tunaamini kwamba ataendelea kuwa na sisi. Na mwingine ambaye jana tu yeye aliniomba nifikishe salamu zake ni Rais mstaafu Dr. Aman Abeid Karume. Leo anasafiri nje ya nchi, lakini amesema hayuko hapa kiwiliwili tu. Roho yake iko pamoja na sisi kwa sababu yeye bado anamtambua Maalim Seif kama ni mwenza wake katika kazi kubwa aliyofanya kujenga maridhiano nchi hii. Baada ya utangulizi huo na shukrani hizo, niwashukuru tena kwa mara nyingine tena, na nadhani nirejeshe bomba kwa Deus kabla hajaja kunisukuma hapa, sababu anachukua muda wake mwingi, ili aendelee na ratiba yetu, tusiendelee kuchelewa kwa sababu wengi tuna hamu sana kusikia hasa hotuba ya mgeni rasmi. Kwa hiyo nafikiri tuanze kwa wale ambao wamepangiwa na Deus atafanya kazi hiyo. Nashukuru sana, asanteni sana.
Asante sana ndugu Ismail Jusa Ladho kwa maneno yako mafupi ya shukrani na kuwatambua mbalimbali. Lakini nitakuomba kama kuna yote ulimsahau, utakapoketi akili katulia, basi utakaporejea hapa uhakikishe umewatambua wageni wetu. Hatutaki kuondoka hapa na mahusiano yote yaliyoharibika. Baada ya kusema hayo, ni kama nilivyosema awali, mabibi na mabwana, ninaomba nikaribishe. Tunafahamu kwamba almarhum alikuwa na marafiki wengi, na kati ya marafiki zake walikuwa mabalozi mbalimbali wa nchi mbalimbali waliohudumia hapa Tanzania kuwakilisha nchi zao kwa vipindi mbalimbali. Ndio maana hata mmoja wao ambaye alikuwepo hapa takriban miaka 15 iliyopita leo bado anajihisi ule ukaribu na kuhisi ulazima wa kuwepo hapa kuendelea kumwenzi almarhum. Kwa hiyo kwa utaratibu huo na kwa ridhaa yako Mheshimiwa mgeni rasmi, nitawakaribisha mabalozi wachache waliokuwepo hapa ambao wangependa kusema maneno mawili matatu. I will invite before you, with your permission, several of the foreign dignitaries present here today. We will also have video tributes from some of these diplomats who were unable to make it in person, but they have delivered to us their video tributes in honor of the late Maalim Seif Sharif Hamad. Having said that, allow me to invite His Excellency Didier Chassot, Ambassador of Switzerland to Tanzania, to say a few words in honor of Maalim Seif Sharif Hamad. He will be followed by Ambassador Regine Hayes from the Federal Republic of Germany to speak on behalf of her government. And later on we'll also hear from Inga Herbert on behalf of the Project. We will also have video tributes from, before the video tributes, we'll also have a word of tribute from Ambassador Joran Malam on her own behalf in this regard, not necessarily the government of Norway. I don't want to overstep the protocol, Elizabeth. We will have video tributes from former Ambassador of the United States, Mark Green, who is now president of the Wilson Center, who has sent a video tribute. Another one of Maalim's close allies, was Ambassador Roland van der Heer, a former head of the EU delegation to Tanzania, who has also sent a video tribute. So allow me to invite His Excellency Ambassador Didier Chassot to open this tribute.
Honorable guest of honor, Othman Masoud Othman, first Vice President of Zanzibar. Honorable Nasser Ahmed Mazrui, Minister of Health of Zanzibar, founder of the Maalim Seif Foundation. Dear Mama Awena, Ismail Joussa, acting CEO, Maalim Seif Foundation. Distinguished representatives of the authorities present, distinguished political leaders present, distinguished guests from abroad, dear colleagues, partners and friends, ladies and gentlemen, habari za asubuhi, assalamu alaikum. It is a pleasure and an honor for me to attend this second Maalim Seif Sharif Hamad annual conference here today with you all. Last year already, I had the privilege of attending and offering a few remarks at the inaugural conference. I want therefore to start by thanking the organizers, Ismail Joussa and the whole team behind the Maalim Seif Foundation, for inviting me back and affording me the honor of speaking to this distinguished audience once more. It does speak to the character and legacy of Maalim Seif Sharif Hamad that we are able to organize such important conferences in his name, with such a distinguished audience, to discuss such a broad range of themes from peace and reconciliation to education and innovation. Ladies and gentlemen, I know that most, if not all of you here, are much better placed to speak at length on the legacy of Maalim Seif, given how closely you worked with him. Me, I met him only a few times after I first arrived in Tanzania about 2 years ago in September 2020. The last of such occasions was during the second Zanzibar Peace Conference called Sustainable Peace for Sustainable Development in January 2021, which he attended together with His Excellency President Hussein Ali Mwinyi and other eminent dignitaries in a remarkable and strong display of unity and willingness to work together to address the urgent development needs in Zanzibar. And this is what I mostly know and remember from him. Indeed, every time I saw him or listened to him, it seems Maalim Seif always advocated for peaceful resolution of disagreements and tensions. He knew, of course, that without peace, it is the people who suffer, regardless of where they come from or which party they belong to. Maalim Seif understood the great responsibility that all political leaders must bear, and he carried it with utmost dignity. But as we know, Maalim Seif's influence went even beyond that. And while he is gone in body, his words and his works are still available to us, covering a wide spectrum of political, social, and economic issues. As he put it himself in a tweet on December 2019, and I quote, "My vision is to put Zanzibar in its right place in the world. The main trade and financial services hub on the Indian Ocean, the top in terms of quality and of education, and a place of great cultural diversity." End of quote. There is a lot to unpack here, but given the theme of this year's conference, I would like to focus, obviously, on education. Dear participants, the theme of this conference is well chosen indeed. It is highly relevant for pursuing the vision of Maalim Seif. It is highly relevant for an inclusive, sustainable development of any society, and it builds on Maalim Seif's own work. As we know, after the January 1964 revolution, which saw many civil servants leaving the islands, Maalim Seif was asked by the new government to join the teaching profession to fill the vacuum. Thereupon, he took up this responsibility and taught for 8 years. Later on, he became Zanzibar's Minister of Education, a position he served from 1977 to 1980. With this background strongly rooted in the educational sector, it was certainly no surprise that as Zanzibar presidential candidate, he would later make sure that the party manifesto included a strong focus on education and employment creation for youth. So, very appropriate indeed that education be our main theme today. The title of the conference is Education and Skills Development, Innovation and Empowerment. It so happens that these are also priorities of Switzerland's cooperation in Tanzania. Allow me therefore to briefly comment on these 3 topics. First, education and skills development. When we talk about good and efficient governance in the area of education and skills development, then indeed the role of the government is key, as is the role of the private sector. In Tanzania, the support provided by Switzerland in the education sector is mainly focusing on vocational skills development. Based on the Swiss expertise on vocational skills development and dual education, we are convinced that an inclusive approach education is an indispensable requirement for a peaceful, inclusive society. With regard to the provision of vocational skills and the TVET sector in general, we commend the increased efforts of the government that we have observed over the recent years. We believe, however, that it is important not only to focus on the higher TVET levels, also when it comes to budget allocation. In order not to leave out the young mothers and other youth who prematurely stopped or had to stop their educational pathways, Switzerland, through its Skills for Employment Tanzania, SET, and Opportunity for Youth Employment, OYE, those 2 projects inter alia, Switzerland supports the Ministry of Education, Science and Technology to provide better flexible and also short-term non-formal vocational skills through its folk development colleges. We would like to strongly encourage the governments to also increase their resource allocation to such practical, flexible, non-formal vocational trainings and related institutions. These are exactly the trainings and skills needed to equip a large share of the 1 million youth entering job market age every year so that they can access gainful self-employment. These projects were co-designed with the relevant Tanzanian authorities and will contribute to the 10-year National Skills Development Strategy, as well as to the draft Second Technical Vocational Education and Training Development Plan. We look forward to being able to finally launch their implementation when all administrative hurdles are passed. Timely and transparent approvals are indeed of importance, and we very much hope that collaboration processes will be streamlined as much as possible. As we all know, the growing youth population in Tanzania might be a huge opportunity for accelerating growth and shared wealth. However, today, young Tanzanians are often stuck in low-paid, informal or non-paid work where they face limited prospects. Particularly young women face negative gender norms and traditions that hamper their socio-economic prospects. We encourage the authorities, as well as the civil society, to proactively entertain a public discussion on such gender norms and reflect on which issues might require debates in order to promote a peaceful, inclusive society, allowing for sustainable development in the country. Simply put, let's make sure that the youth, all the youth, can learn what they will really need in order to make a good and meaningful living for them and their families. Second, innovation. Dear all, if one is to believe the Global Innovation Index, I represent here the world's most innovative country, Switzerland. Tanzania, on the other hand, has unfortunately been slipping down that same index lately, being ranked 103rd out of 132 countries in 2022. The Tanzanian innovation ecosystem does have some strengths, however, such as a good level of loans for microfinance institutions in percentage of the GDP. But there are also significant weaknesses, such as the low level of domestic credits to SMEs and the sheer inexistence of venture capital. At the same time, another major weakness compared to other countries is the low level of females with advanced degrees being employed. We note that many efforts are already underway here in Zanzibar. The strong involvement of the private sector itself, particularly the financial service providers, as well as the international impact investment community, seems crucial. We believe the best contribution a government can do for them is to support them with de-risking their work rather than replacing it with own government financing initiatives. And at the same time, again, the major driver of innovative solutions for an inclusive, sustainable development is very simple. Advance gender equality, discuss it publicly, and make sure that women and girls enjoy the same rights as men and boys. This is most probably the most powerful driver for a peaceful, inclusive society enjoying sustainable development. In order to support these efforts, Switzerland will soon launch a so-called Innovation for Social Change project, in which, together with international investors, financing will be allocated to gender-sensitive, high-impact SMEs, thereby creating employment, gender equality, and overall social impact. Third, empowerment. Switzerland firmly believes that politically empowered citizens are a key ingredient for a peaceful, inclusive society. Our current 21-25 Swiss Cooperation Programme for Tanzania therefore focuses on three key priorities, which all contribute towards an empowered citizenry. First, Switzerland provides support to allow institutions, state institutions, to be more efficient and effective, inclusive, and increasingly free of corruption. Second, Switzerland supports initiatives that aim to promote civic space, which in turn shall enable all citizens, and especially young women, to influence local and national policy making and implementation and promote their human rights. Third, Switzerland supports interventions like the ones described above that focus on vocational training, which enables youth, especially poor young women, to benefit from gainful income generating opportunities and sustainable livelihood. We firmly believe that an inclusive, sustainable development can only happen when institutions perform efficiently and effectively, when civic space is ensured and actively promoted, and when youth can benefit from gainful income-generating opportunities and sustainable livelihood. Distinguished participants, these few remarks must have sounded quite technical. My apologies. But education matters are serious and, in a way, technical matters. They are a key priority indeed for any society and any country, and even more so for a country which, with such a young, vibrant, and rapidly growing population like Tanzania. Maalim Seif knew it, and if we had to choose one single way only to do so, I say that assuring provision of quality education to all, boys and girls alike, would be a very valuable way indeed to honor his legacy of reconciliation, peace, democracy, and harmony in Zanzibar and beyond. I wish you good discussions today and tomorrow, and I thank you for your attention.
Asante sana Balozi. It was nice to hear from the world's most innovative country. Allow me, without further ado, in light of the delay, to invite Balozi Regine Hess on behalf of the Federal Republic of Germany. Karibu sana Balozi.
Mgeni rasmi, please allow me, mabwana na mabibi, to greet you all for the sake of time, but everybody has been introduced already. As Balozi of Germany, I'm very happy that I have been invited for this occasion and to be part of those few who were allowed to greet you as partners and friends of the Maalim Seif Foundation. Yes, I would say Germany is a partner. We are behind the Neumann Foundation in terms of financing activities, so I consider myself as a partner, or the government. Friends of the foundation, yes. Friends of Maalim Seif, I don't think I could say so because I only met him twice. When I arrived in December 2019, times weren't easy for diplomats to meet members of the opposition, and it was even more difficult to work on Zanzibar. You might remember that the EU had a sort of boycott after the elections from 2015. So for me as a German ambassador, meeting a member of the opposition from Zanzibar was very difficult. I met Maalim Seif first time during an event with the EU ambassadors during election campaign in 2020. And then again, second time at the peace conference, which was already mentioned by Didier, the Swiss ambassador, which was financed by the German government, and where we were also happy to see the president, first vice president, second vice president, and that the government of national unity had been formed. We had come far then in January 2021. And I realized that Maalim Seif was a personality who was a never give up personality. He was somebody who really liked to seize opportunities, and he was somebody who gave a second chance. One reason why the government of national unity actually came about. This event today and tomorrow is about education. We heard a lot about education already. I think myself as well that education is at the heart of development. To develop a society, you need so many things. You need health, you need water, you need food. But behind being able to deliver that to your society, you need educated people, you need skilled people. So education, I think, is at the heart. There are more people who are much more experts than me talking to you over the next 1.5 days, so I would like to leave it at that. I would like to mention that Germany is actually back working in Zanzibar, and we're going to start a program in the water sector, and we want to focus on Pemba. And we're starting a sports program as well. Actually, the launch is next week, Wednesday, focusing on girls in sports. To build a society, democracy and peace, you need what I have mentioned, but you need mainly personalities. You need people who sacrifice, who have courage, and who work for a cause. And I think Maalim Seif was that person. When I arrived yesterday in Zanzibar and strolled the streets of Stone Town, which I really love to do, Maalim Seif was very present. He smiled at me from many election posters from 2020. That's actually an offense in Germany. If you don't take down your posters very soon after the campaign, you get fined. But I'm very happy that this is not the case here, and I would even ask you, leave it like that. It's such a nice thing to walk the streets of Zanzibar and being smiled at by this great personality. Not only work on his legacy within the foundation and project, but just have him smile at you when you stroll the streets of Stone Town. Thank you very much.
Asante sana Balozi. Maybe we can give you a complimentary poster which you can then stick at Umoja House or your residence, I don't know. Asante sana. Allow me to invite now Ms. Inge Herbert, the Sub-Saharan Director of the Frederick Norman Foundation. Karibu sana.
Asante sana. His Excellency Othman Masood Othman, First Vice President of Zanzibar. Ismail Yusa, Acting CEO of the Maalim Seif Foundation. Excellencies, ambassadors present here today. Honorable Rostam Aziz, Professor Issa Shivi, Honorable David Coltart, Senator and former Minister of Education, Zimbabwe, leaders of religious institutions, ladies and gentlemen, a warm welcome on behalf of the Friedrich Naumann Foundation to this conference. It is good to be back in Zanzibar, one place in Africa that symbolizes the true liberal values of freedom, openness, diversity, entrepreneurship, competition and market economy, from ancient times to now. Diversity and tolerance stand out for me when I think of Zanzibar, like the spices growing and found on this island. The Swahili people living here represent the fusion of different influences and cultures which make the island so special. Tanzania was the first posting in Africa for me 16 years ago, together with my family, and the Indian Ocean and the Swahili people and culture are especially close to my heart. We are here today for the second Maalim Seif Sharif Hamad annual conference to celebrate the life of a dear friend who embraced and identified himself with liberalism at a time when it was not fashionable to do so. Just a few months after he became Chief Minister of Zanzibar in 1984, Maalim Seif championed and openly defended economic liberalization policies for the island when Tanzania was still a one-party state under the ruling CCM, which identified itself as a socialist party. Maalim Seif fought and stood for the inclusion of a Bill of Rights in the Zanzibar Constitution of 1984, a move that influenced Tanzania mainland also to adopt the same for the Union Constitution. But while these moves were taken at a time when he assumed the second most powerful position in Zanzibar in 1984, his beliefs in a system anchored on openness, competition, fairness, and meritocracy was witnessed much earlier in 1977 when he was appointed Zanzibar's Minister of Education. He campaigned for the introduction of a robust education policy that addressed inequality in access by disbanding the race-based quota system with a performance-based system. Till his death, Maalim Seif believed Zanzibar's education system ought to be reformed to allow the IELTS to leverage its strategic position as a hub for market-based service economy. The theme for this year's Maalim Seif Sharif Hamad annual conference is education and skills development, innovation and empowerment. The theme could never be more timely worldwide. Education systems are facing crisis because of their failure in many countries. The failure to produce responsible citizens. The failure to bring out skills that make those who come out of our schools and higher learning institutions to be employable or employ themselves. And the failure to sharpen our young people to be innovative, acquire critical thinking, and make them open-minded to embrace a more open and globalized world. We have a quote here on the wall from one of the founding fathers of the Friedrich Naumann Foundation. So democracy is not an insurance of happiness, something you can take for granted, but it is a result of political education and democratic mindset. The Friedrich Naumann Foundation for Freedom has always played a central role in championing new solutions for the ever-changing world, guided by the core liberal values of freedom, diversity, equal opportunities, responsibility, openness, creativity, and innovation. Looking at diverse people who have been invited to this conference to share their insights and thoughts on how best to tackle the current challenges facing our education system, we will develop today and tomorrow recommendations that can be considered by policymakers here in Zanzibar and beyond. We at the Friedrich Naumann Foundation are proud and happy to be able to cooperate with you, the Maalim Seif Foundation, in training, sharing of ideas, skills development, and education, both in Tanzania, within the frame of international networks like the Africa Liberal Network of Parties, our International Leadership Academy in Germany, and our FNF offices in Africa and beyond. Maalim Seif always underpinned the importance and crucial role that education can play in transforming societies and change people's lives for the better. At different platforms, he insisted that for Zanzibar to develop it must first address the many challenges that faces the education sector in the Isles. He himself showed the way in his own way on how to address such challenges when he headed the Ministry of Education in the 1970s. It is a befitting tribute for a foundation in his name to choose education as the theme for this year's conference deliberations in honoring his everlasting legacy that transcends beyond the shores of these beautiful islands. I wish the conference well and look forward to inspiring ideas from the broad spectrum of speakers and panelists. Thank you very much. Asanteni sana.
Thank you very much, Inga. I would like to, without further ado, invite Balozi Mstaafu, Yoran Maalim, to also offer a tribute as one of those who worked very closely with the late Maalim Seif Sharif Hamad. Karibu sana.
Your Excellency, First Vice President of Zanzibar, my sister, the widow of late Maalim Seif, my good friend, honorable ministers and leaders of political parties, acting CEO of Maalim Seif Foundation, my good friend Ismail Yusa, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, it is indeed an honor, a privilege to be here today, to participate in the second Maalim Seif Legacy Conference. It is an honor, it is a privilege to pay tribute to Maalim Seif. A man, a politician, I learned to respect so highly when I was Norway's ambassador to Tanzania so many years ago, 2003, 2007, then I was back in 2010. So many years ago, but it feels like yesterday. Maalim Seif, a kind, decent man with integrity, humility, and passion. An everlasting passion and dedication to his political goals, hoping that one day every Zanzibari would live in peace and have a good life. He never lost hope. He never gave up. He put hope above despair. He put dialogue above confrontation. With dignity and respect, he listened to others, me included, not always agreeing, but always respectful and open to compromise. Always fighting with peaceful means, despite voices that from time to time told him otherwise. Reconciliation and peaceful means served as his guiding star. Despite the challenges he was faced with, he lived his life with decency and modesty. Yes, he was modest too. If you allow me to be a bit personal, I remember he was visiting Oslo some years ago. He came to my house with Jussa for an informal dinner with typical Norwegian food. He ate all the food that I had prepared. He was especially grateful when we came to dessert. It was a chocolate dessert. Maalim Seif really had a taste for Norwegian chocolate. And the whole time he was so easygoing, so relaxed, and yes, modest. And then in 2010, election time in Tanzania, and I was in Zanzibar as an election observer. In the evening, votes should be counted. We were outside the building